You can be fat, lazy, depressed, and complacent. But for those of us who want to evolve, to become the best version of ourselves, nothing can stop us, not even sitting in a prison cell facing life sentence for attempted murder. In this episode, I sit down with my friend Sean Michael Crane to talk about his mindset through incarceration and how he plays his life in God mode. You know, the thing is, you have all these people that are into body positivity, and it's very difficult to tell, like, a fat person, like a real fat person, like, hey, stop.
You're fat.
You're fat, right? It's not becoming. It's not like good society. It's not good culture. Yeah. And they also feel, because of the body positivity movement, that there's no reason for it, that they shouldn't stop doing what they're doing. What do you do with that?
Tell them the truth if you care about them.
What is the truth?
Like, hey, you're fat and out of shape, and it's going to really affect the quality of your life. Like, what if someone was drinking every day and they weren't, doing the stuff they wanted to do in life and it was holding them back? Would you tell them?
It is analogous to drinking in that it is actually, and I want to hear the science behind it, but it is scientifically unhealthy. It probably affects your mindset and your mood. But society, for some reason, is telling people it's okay, you're beautiful, you're a 10.
Yeah. Well, society just lies to people, Like, there's this whole movement to be PC, and you'll get canceled for saying stuff that offends people. Sometimes you need to be offended to wake up and see reality from another person's perspective, And fat people, like, they're similar to drug addicts. They just chose a different substance. They're overeating and they're addicted to food, and they don't have self-control, and it's having a negative intended consequence on their life.
What if they just say it's my genetics?
That's a complete lie. It's bullshit. Yeah. You're overeating. Like, you're eating donuts and cheeseburgers all day. You're not exercising.
Yeah.
And they just don't have self-control. Like, if you're using drugs every day to numb out some, pain you have or some trauma, that's why most people use drugs. Well, people that are obese, they're doing the same thing. Yeah. It maybe, in society, it's not as taboo because you're not putting a needle on your arm in the street, but it's affecting the quality of your life,
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I was just on a cruise with my family. We did like Aruba, Bahamas, Jamaica, that whole thing. And the heaviest people were the most confident about taking off their shirt. And me, I've had body dysmorphia like my whole life. I'm like nervous to take off my shirt because I'm like, I know what I could be. Yeah. But it seems like the bigger you are, the more you're comfortable just eating ice cream. Like, I would, if I was that way, I would eat in private.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
I know that's horrible.
I think if you're walking around and you're fat and overweight, like, you're never gonna feel whole. Deep down inside.
But they take off their shirt without shame. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, they just have a good mask that they wear.
Deep
down inside, they're ashamed of how they look and feel. Yeah. I think so.
So.
And it's not about fat shaming people. For me, it's about seeing the potential in people. I was a lesser version of myself for many years, and I always knew deep down inside I wanted to be better. For 10 years, I didn't act upon that feeling, but it doesn't mean it wasn't there. But then when I would, let's say, drink or do drugs, I would numb that feeling out, and I would just continue with the same behavior.
Yeah.
It's a form of denial.
I haven't heard the comparison of being an overeater to an addict before. That's very interesting. And you were an addict.
Yeah.
Can you
talk
about that?
I abused drugs and alcohol for 10 years, from 14 until 24.
14?
Yeah. Yeah, I started smoking and drinking young. First just smoking weed, 13, 14, and then alcohol heavily, and then pills. And I remember the year of my 15th year alive, I was doing meth. And like coke and ecstasy. Yeah. I was addicted to meth for a whole year when I was younger.
At 15?
Because all of a sudden it was in my neighborhood and these kids were doing it that were older. I started doing it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I feel like Superman.
Yeah.
And I kept doing it. And I was naive. I didn't realize like how addictive that drug was and how bad it was. Like, it just eats your flesh away, man. You get skinny, you look bad, and then you're super dependent on it. And you don't sleep, you don't eat.
So this is 15 years old, you're drinking, smoking, doing drugs, meth, real stuff.
Yeah.
And how did you get the money for this?
So this girl that we knew, her brother was going through cancer. And he was in this hospital, so her parents would always be gone. like with him during his treatment. So we had an open house. And this guy that sold drugs in the neighborhood, he'd just come over there and hang out, and we'd all be smoking. So a lot of times it was free, right? Or lunch money,
sure,
or whatever. Some guys were like stealing and pawning it off to be able to buy their drugs. I never got into like burglaring people's houses and stealing.
Yeah,
but I definitely was into getting high.
Okay.
You know, and I'd just like ask my uncle, hey, I need $20 for whatever, and just go buy a sack with it or save it up and buy more.
Did you grow up with money? Like, did your family have money?
No, we were just like paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 14, now you're going to 24, you're doing drugs?
Yeah.
Okay. And you were an addict. So how do you stop being an addict, I guess?
I mean, I went to prison. You know what I mean? So like growing up, I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, beautiful beach community. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, loved life, loved surfing. Like I was just all about life, man, and hanging out with my friends. And I felt like I could do anything I set my mind to. And then at like 11 years old, 10, 11, was the first time I saw my mother overdose.
Oh, your mom's in it too?
My mom and dad were battling addiction my whole life.
Okay.
So, you know, all of a sudden my mom's lifeless on the floor, and my uncle's like shuttling me and my siblings into my bedroom, and I saw him giving her mouth to mouth, and it was terrifying. And then the ambulance came, put her on a stretcher, and I didn't know if my mom was dead or not, you know.
Did your mom die or no?
No, not then.
Okay.
She passed away since, but she'd overdosed 3 more times in front of me by the time I was 12. So all of a sudden I went from feeling like I could do anything in life, loving sports, just like all in, to really being scared and nervous a lot. I was introduced to just a whole different way of life, you know? And then I'd see my parents fighting, I'd see them drunk. And at 14, the catalyst for me was my freshman year in high school, my first month in school. My dad had a pistol. I came home, he had a gun on his lap. And he was blacked out drunk. And it was like, what the hell? Like, what's he doing? You know, he put a clip in it, and I didn't know if he was going to blow his brains out, shoot someone else, or what. And the cops ended up coming and having a standoff with him. And we saw it all. I thought he might get shot in front of me.
Wow.
You know, and he surrendered the gun. They took him to jail, and he went to prison. And so, man,
prison for
having a
firearm
like
while intoxicated.
Weapon. Yeah, like
okay.
It was like an unregistered weapon.
Okay.
So he could have got much worse charges, you know.
Sure.
But when that happened, my whole world was turned upside down. Like I could not believe that happened. Like I lost my dad, you know? And then my mom stopped coming home. She got a boyfriend. That's when she fell fully into her addiction. She was doing meth. She was drinking. And she really just lost her mind. Like she went from my mom to one of those people you see on the street. You're like, what's wrong with that person? You know, like almost schizophrenic.
Yeah.
I don't know which was harder for me, to see that or lose my dad. You know, because this is my mom, man. She's supposed to like be there for me my whole life.
Yeah.
It really just broke my heart. And I had a lot of anger, a lot of pain. I didn't know what to do. And luckily my whole life, my Uncle Mike was living with us. He was like my guardian angel, man.
Sure.
He was the best human being I've ever known. Like always told me, Sean, you're a good person. You know, you're smart, like you're talented. Like he just planted all these positive beliefs inside of me.
And which age was this for you?
Well, at this time I was 14, but he lived with me my whole life.
Okay.
So as a kid, I was almost more close to him than my dad, because kids are smart. Intuitively, I knew my parents were compromised. I'd see them altered.
Right.
I'd see them fight. But my Uncle Mike was always that presence for us. He provided security and safety for us. You know what kids need. So I just gravitated towards him at a young age.
What did Uncle Mike do for work?
He did construction, you know, physical labor.
Just a blue collar guy.
Yeah, blue collar guy.
But wanted to take care of you guys.
Yeah, and he provided for us. He paid all the bills.
Wow.
We had a 4-bedroom home we lived in. He worked, you know, all day long, and then came home and really looked after us.
So now this is interesting because your parents are drug addicts and criminal dad.
Yeah.
And then this blue collar great guy is taking care of you, but then you go down the path of doing drugs, exactly what your parents do.
My parents.
So
and,
what is that like?
The whole
like,
time.
I don't understand that.
Well, because that was the only thing I found that could numb out my pain. So when I would smoke or drink, I could forget about my problems and just like disconnect from reality. And it became an addiction. I found a group of friends that were doing the same thing. I stopped going to school. Like overnight I changed. When my dad went to prison, within 6 months I wasn't going to school. I was smoking and drinking every day, taking pills. I changed drastically in that time. And my uncle was looking after my younger siblings, you know, and he would always talk to me like, Sean, what are you doing? This isn't who you are. This isn't the person that I know. This isn't the kid that I grew up seeing. And he would always try to get me back on track, but I wasn't hearing it. I went through like a rebellious stage. I was full of anger.
In the moment, like where you're doing the drugs, is it like, do you know that it's wrong, or?
I didn't care.
But okay, I know you didn't care.
I mean, I knew it was wrong. If you'd say, hey, is doing drugs wrong? I might say, I don't give a
right.
Or I might say, yeah, but like, I never thought about it, you know? Deep down inside, you know that stuff's wrong. Yeah. But I went at 15, I was so reckless. That was the year of my life where I was the most reckless. I'm lucky I lived past that. Like the stuff me and my friends were doing, we were out of control.
Okay.
The amount of drugs and alcohol I'd put in my body in a given night, like you don't know at that age, you're so naive. Right. I had friends that never woke up, you know, that went to bed and overdosed accidentally. And we had a lot of friends die at that time.
Yeah.
You know? So I was just reckless, man, and I didn't care really if I lived.
That is a weird position. I mean, I'm neurotic about pills in general. Mm-hmm. I just got done with strep throat, and I took one more antibiotic pill than I was supposed to. And I thought I like was ChatGPTing. I was like, "Is this too much? Should I throw it up?" Like I was neurotic.
Well, that's the thing about pills is like people just think, "Oh, it's a pill. It's fine. We take medicine."
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of people die is they overconsume them and then you overdose.
Right.
You know, it's dangerous, man.
Okay, so how did you get out of this?
Yeah, so from 14 to 24, didn't do anything very productive in my life. Managed to graduate high school. After school, my uncle, who owned a tree service business in Santa Barbara, offered me a job. And so I took it, and now I'm, you know, doing manual labor every day. And actually, it taught me so much about life, right? Because I was earning money, I was working my ass off, and my dad came back at that time and was working with us, and he and I got really close. So it's this weird dynamic where I'm working hard every day, and then he and I are drinking and smoking weed after work.
Did you and your dad, when he was in prison, did you ever go visit him?
No. I didn't see him for 18 months.
Wow.
He was only away for 18 months, but still, when he came home, he was like tripped out at how much I had changed. You know, I was kind of like still a little boy when he left.
Right.
And then
18 months is a long time.
You know, I grew up.
Right.
But we got really close during that time when he came back home. Like he became really like my best friend. And it was just weird. We were codependent, you know. But he helped me develop a certain confidence in myself, and he guided me in his own way. But it wasn't in the best direction, you know. But working for my uncle was great because I ended up being a tree climber. So I'm climbing these 100-foot eucalyptus trees out here in California with a chainsaw, like scared as hell, 100 feet up. But I was doing it because it was the family business, and I didn't want to let anyone down. And then I would get paid $1,000 cash every week, and I'd go home and I'd give my Uncle Mike $900 every week. And my friends would just be like, "Dude, you're working so hard, and you're keeping $100 a week. What are you doing?" And I was like, "This is my family." Like, it was the first time I felt some self-respect for what I was doing because I was able to provide and help out and give back.
Sure.
You know, and I felt like I owed that to my Uncle Mike.
And the $900 was for him to pay the bills.
Pay the bills. Me and my dad would pitch in our cash. At that point, my Uncle Mike wasn't really working. He was older. He was on disability.
Okay.
So it allowed us just to maintain, you know, month to month. And then I was just selling weed and stuff on the side to make money and do my thing.
Okay.
Yeah, just getting by, just like survival mode, you know.
And
then so, man, I was still going out at night, drinking, partying, chasing girls. I ended up moving away from Santa Barbara, Goleta, where I grew up, to Ojai, California, to one of my other uncle's properties. We couldn't maintain the house anymore. We couldn't pay the bills in Goleta. And when I moved there, I thought, man, maybe I'm going to get away from my friends, and it could be like a refresh for me, like a start over.
Yeah.
But I brought my same problems with me, man.
During this time, did you were you like, I need to get better, I need to be healthy?
I was becoming aware of it.
Okay.
You know, I remember one time we were drinking at the beach, a bunch of my friends, and the thought hit me like, I don't want to do this forever. I started becoming aware that I was getting older, and I didn't want to be stuck in that lifestyle. But I still had my demons, man. I hadn't dealt with all the pain from my past, all the anger I had towards my parents. So I moved to Ojai, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and we were doing pretty good. I got sober for like 8 months at one point, and then her and I broke up, and then I just started using drugs and drinking like 10 times more than I ever had.
Right. So like
I just used that as an excuse. I was heartbroken. It was the first time I went through a serious breakup. You know, we were together 3.5 years, and man, at that time I just dove full on into my addiction.
Have you looked into anything like the ketamine therapy or the mushrooms?
Yeah.
Have you done
I haven't done
treatment?
it personally, but I'm seeing all this new advancements and like helping people with PTSD, addiction.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely something there.
I'll tell you, I had nothing like your story, but I did recently do mushrooms with in a very safe environment with like a shaman doctor.
Yeah.
And what would have taken me, like I've held on to anger for a very long time. I've let moments with my family extend infinity. Mm-hmm. And in 2 hours,
isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Completely gone.
That's crazy.
It's just worked out in your mind.
Yeah. Well, it allows you to you see things from a different perspective, and it softens up the ego a little bit. It allows you to just look at things differently and release a lot of that emotion. I mean, I took mushrooms like 15 times, but we were taking an eighth and a quarter at a time. Like I saw my friend melt right in front of me one time.
Okay. I didn't have anything like that.
Way different. I'm lucky that I'm still somewhat coherent,
It beyond me that I know friends of mine that like do mushrooms and then they go to like Joshua Tree and like walk around the forest. Yeah. That's to me a little scary.
Honestly, it could be really fun because you just feel like you're like a wild animal out in the wilderness.
Yeah,
me and my friends would go out in the woods and do it, just act crazy.
That doesn't sound good to me.
Well, you can have a bad trip. I saw guys that went into like a mushroom trip, like in a bad mood or something, or just not understanding how intense it was going to be, and just really have a bad experience.
I had the opposite. Like, so I've never done meth. I'm not and I'm not endorsing drugs at all. With mushrooms specifically, I really think there's something there that in the right environment it's so therapeutic.
Yeah. A lot of people microdose because humans in our thinking, we're so we're hard to let go of stuff and change our perspective and be open-minded about things. Something about using those mushrooms or psychedelics that changes the way you think. And it does. It allows you to release emotion and stuff you've been holding on forever.
The introspective part of that was I wasn't when you're present in the world, you kind of have like this ego about who you are. And when you do psychedelics, it allows you to like deflate your ego and go within like, who am I outside of all of this? And there's why does God call Abraham, Moses? Why does he call people multiple times? It's like one is for your spiritual self, one is for your physical self. Mm-hmm. And you have to say who am I outside of how people know me? If somebody calls me dad, I know it's my kids, right? My wife calls me Trenty. I know that's my wife. My dad calls me something else, son. But those are the titles, and I act the way that they call me. Somebody calls me dad, I'm going to act differently.
Yeah, we're playing like a character. We have different versions of ourselves, right?
Right, agreed.
And who's the real Trent is the question.
Exactly.
Who's Trent below the layers of life experience and the relationships you have?
Exactly.
It's really interesting. I mean, you could lose yourself in that thought process or have an epiphany and some type of awakening.
Right.
Well, and I'll get to my story because that's what happened to me.
That's what I wanted to hear.
But I was sober, right? So at 23, I was at a college party and I went there and I didn't even know anybody. Me and my friend were invited by some girl I knew and we showed up and I didn't know anyone at the house. And we were drinking and everyone's doing drugs and then these guys show up and they start kind of beefing with this other group at the party. And we're right there watching them. You could tell they're going to fight. They're in the kitchen. And it just dies down. And then we go back to drinking. And I'm leaving. I'm going downtown to a bar with some people. And I'm leaving. We got a cab. And as we're leaving, those groups of guys come outside and they start talking to each other. And I'm like, all right, we're going to watch a fight. And at that age, there's always a fight at the end of the night.
Sure.
And a lot of times I was involved. A lot of times I was right there in the mix, because I was just young and wild and careless.
Were you always...
I was skinny. I was 170
skinny pounds. Meth kid? Or
no, I only did meth at 15.
Okay.
And then after that, I was doing the tree work. And I was healthy, man. I was strong. I wasn't lifting weights as much as I am now. But I was always athletic and strong. And I could fend for myself, And then so this huge melee breaks out. This huge fight breaks out. I get tackled to the ground by someone behind me or on my side. And I thought they were jumping me. I thought that they just mistaked me for one of the guys they were fighting. And I'm wrestling with this guy on the ground, expecting to start getting kicked and stomped in the head. Nothing happens. So I'm trying to get this guy off of me, and he would not budge. He was a big guy like you. Mm-hmm. And finally, I rolled him off, and the only thought that went through my head was hit this guy. He's trying to attack you, hit him.
Yeah.
And I threw 2 punches that kind of skimmed the side of his head. And when I stood up, he stayed face down on the ground. And like split second, I was just like, that's weird, you know? And my friend who I went to the party with, he goes, Sean, let's go. And he's like waving me over towards the street. And as I walk out into the street, there's lights like this, you know, like street lights. And as I stand under one, you know, I'm just covered head to toe in blood. And his eyes light up just like yours did. He goes, Sean, what the hell? What happened?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
Are you on drugs right now? Or
we're drunk. We're on drugs.
Okay.
Yeah. And he starts running up the street. He's like, let's go. We got to get out of here. And everyone's scattering. And I start following him up the street. I'm limping too, because when I got tackled, my back and leg got all messed up. Like I could barely walk. I'm limping, and I hear sirens coming. And we got up the street, and he's in this laundromat, like off the side of the street, waving me in. And right when I get into the laundromat, the cops race by with their lights on, like just out of sight. I just ducked into the laundromat, and he's like, hey, you got to take your shirt off, man. You're covered in blood. And he opens up the dryer in the laundromat, and there's like one shirt in there. Like someone left their laundry, you know? And he throws it to me, and I take my shirt off, and he threw it behind the washer or dryer, and I put that shirt on, and we go up to the cab and jump in, and the cab takes us back to his house. And we just passed out. You know, and the next morning, the first thing I did when I woke up, it was like the worst nightmare. You're like, no, did that really happen?
Right.
Like, it takes your breath away.
Yeah.
Like, we all have those nightmares, and you're so happy that it wasn't real.
Yes.
This was fucking real, you know? And I'm like, I Google, like, fight on the Mesa, and it says 2 men were stabbed at a fight on the Mesa. One's in critical condition.
No.
And suspects are at large. I'm like, oh, man. Like, and
Did you know you're the suspects?
No. I thought that they were going to come and get me and question me and try to tell on who did it or whatever, give them information.
Yeah.
That's literally what I thought.
Okay.
And I stay at his house all day. I finally leave that night, and as I'm leaving, one of my friends picked me up. It's like sunset. It's like dusk. I just see this line of cops driving down his street. It was the craziest timing. Like, I was just leaving, pulling out of his cul-de-sac, and they're coming down this adjacent street. And there's like tons of cops, this big old forensic unit, you know, and they followed us, and then they all got out with AR-15s.
Oh my God.
Got me out of the car, put me down on my knees, and like had guns to my head.
Wow.
And I hear dogs barking and shit. It was crazy. And I was just numb, man, because I was on all these drugs still.
Yeah.
And they arrested me, and when they booked me in later that day, or when they booked me in like an hour later, they charged me with attempted murder. And I was like, what the f-? Like, I called my Uncle Mike. I was like, hey, I'm in jail. He's like, what's going on? I was like, I'm charged with attempted murder. You know, you get like a 30-second phone call when you're waiting to be processed in. And at that point, man, I was still...
and you're like, I didn't kill anybody.
I didn't do it. So at that point, I'm still somewhat naive. Like, okay, they're just trying to scare me. They're trying to press all of us. Surely these charges are going to be dropped or reduced, and everything's going to be okay.
Oh my God.
But like, it didn't go away.
I got freaking heart palpitations listening to this.
Dude, it was insane. It feels like a different lifetime ago. You know, it's 14 years ago this happened. And I went to court, you know, the first time, and I walked in, and the news press is there taking my picture, and there's all these people staring at me, and I'm all cuffed up. And my lawyer's assistant walks up to me, and she's all nervous, you know, and she goes, hey, the judge and the district attorney are talking about amending your charges to homicide today. You know, the rumors are the victim's in a brain coma. He's not going to make it. And they're thinking about just changing your charges today. I was like, wow, like, this is just insane.
How long were you in jail for before you went out to the, like, to court? To
court, like 2 days. They have to, 2 days. They have to see you within 72 hours of being arrested.
Okay. So you're in jail for 2 days thinking, had you ever been to jail before?
Like an overnighter for a DUI and stuff, but never actually processed and housed. So, I mean, I was coming off all the drugs. So I was literally just like, my legs were shaking at night. I couldn't sleep. I felt horrible. And then I had just the dread of this reality hanging over me. You know, like, what's going to happen? Is this real? Right. You know, like, what the f-? And after court, man, you know, I would go back like every week, every 2 weeks, and it was no good news. They really thought I did it. They were trying to put it all on me.
After court, did you go back to jail, or did you get released and then have to go to court?
You don't, like, my bond was like $1 million, you know?
Wow.
And I had a blue band on. That means you're facing a life sentence. So it was serious, man. And then in jail, you know.
What about your friends? Were they involved? Were they there too?
So they weren't my friends. Like, I knew of them. My friend that I went to the party with got charged with accessory to attempted murder.
And you were the murderer, potentially.
I was the attempted murderer. And he got out. He was able to bail out because his bond was much less for accessory. And he was a Marine, so he was all worried about, he was at Camp Pendleton at the time, station. He was all worried about his career and everything.
Down here.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I was in county jail for 8 months, fighting my case, hoping that I would get to walk out of there, mistaken identity, the truth comes out, and it never happened. Every time I went to court, no good news. It got worse and worse and worse. And I remember one day I called my lawyer, and my lawyer wasn't even showing up to court. He was like sending his assistants and stuff. He had seen so many of these cases. He read the police report. He just assumed I did it. Like my whole legal team thought I was guilty.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I called him one day from my holding cell, my jail cell, and he's like, "Hey, Sean, so you're going to prison. There's no debate about that at this point." He goes, "The only question is how much time are you going to do in prison?" And like when he said that to me, I remember I was like I'm really going to prison. Because up until that point, I'd still been hopeful that I was going to get out.
Right.
And I remember I just hung up the phone. I was like, damn, this is really happening. But I started going through a massive transformation in that tiny little cell. I was in a 6x8 cell.
Okay, wait. 2 questions about this for a second. So during this time, now, weirdly, you're your dad. I followed in his footsteps. Your dad's out.
My uncle's footsteps. I had many family members who had gone down that same path.
And is anybody visiting you in jail?
Yeah, yeah. My dad would come. My uncle would come. A lot of my family.
And they believed you that you were innocent.
Yeah. At least they said they did.
Did that guy die?
No.
He didn't.
Miraculously, he survived.
And he's living right now?
Yeah. I mean, the rumors were that he died 3 times on the way to the ambulance, that they had to give him, what are those things? Defibrillators to bring him back to life. 3 times on the way to the hospital in the ambulance, he died. And he made a miraculous recovery. He had his throat slit. So his jugular was slit. He was bleeding out. I don't know how he survived. People usually don't survive those types of injuries.
Okay, so I want to, first of all, this is like one of the most interesting podcasts we've done.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I do want to hear about the personal transformation.
Yeah.
But I also
people don't care about that. They want to know the crazy stuff, the drama.
Yeah, I do want to hear who killed him.
Yeah.
How long were you in prison for, and what happened?
Yeah, so I was charged with attempted murder. My co-defendant was charged with assault with a deadly weapon. 2 other individuals were arrested that were later released for lack of evidence. And then my friend from childhood was charged with accessory to attempted murder. So the individual that was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, it's crazy, right? He got out 5 years ago. He did 10 years. He got out 5 years ago, and I got the messages on my phone. He messaged me on Facebook, and he goes, "Hey, man, I want to go down to the police station, and I want to tell them that you're innocent." He goes, "I know you already did the time, but maybe you can get your name exonerated. I see what you're doing. I see you on social media. It'd be probably good for you to be able to prove that you were innocent." And he went down to the police station and confessed to the crime. And they have audio recording. So I went to the jail, and I'm like, "Hey, I want to talk to this officer." I knew the officer's name. And they were just giving me the runaround. In situations like that, they do not want to reverse the charges unless there's irrefutable evidence.
So the guy who did the time did the crime?
Yeah.
And he
admitted it after the fact.
He admitted it.
Yeah, and I talked to the officer.
Oh my God.
I called him. We were messaging through Facebook.
Were you mad at this guy?
I mean, initially, yeah. I was like,
yeah, where have you been?
But after everything I went through and all the changes I made, I believe that something supernatural occurred in my life. I believe that God intervened in my life and saved my life. Because I'd be dead. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be this version of me today.
Right.
This is the person I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Agreed. And so...
Amen.
I had this belief inside of me that it happened for me. And I know people think that sounds corny and cliche, but when you have that perspective, you tend to find the good in really tough situations. My whole life, things happened to me. My parents were drug addicts. They abandoned me. I come from a broken home. I became a loser. I battled addiction for 10 years. All that was happening to me. And the moment that I shifted my perspective and believed that God was intervening in my life, I started to see the things that were happening for me. And the whole mental shift I went through in jail, I remember I was sitting there every day going, why is this happening to me? Why does no one believe me? This isn't fair. God, everyone's against me, And one day I just remember this thought struck me, and it was, Sean, what if this experience is actually going to help you get sober and save your life? What if this is life-saving right now? Or what if this experience is going to get you away from all your friends, all the drugs, all the stuff you were doing, and finally tap back into your true self, the person you're supposed to be? And the big one, I came to believe that God was intervening in my life. And even though I couldn't see it in the moment, something greater was going to come from that experience. Like, it was a blessing in disguise.
Wow.
And that shift in my thinking changed my whole life, because now I didn't look at that tiny little cell as like a punishment, a dungeon where I was going to die, you know? I started looking around that cell and going, well, what can I do with my time? Who can I become through this experience? And I started working out every day. I started reading books. I was like, I'm going to become the best version of myself in this setting. And like, dude, I'm going to write a book about this. No one can take this from me. I just started going through this whole mindset of like looking at it as an opportunity, you know? And I did. When I made that commitment in that cell that I was going to start making every day count and that I was going to be sober the rest of my life, everything changed.
How far into prison did you have this epiphany?
About 6 months.
Okay. And what was the total sentence you were there for?
I got sentenced to 7 years in prison. I did 5.5.
Okay.
So 8 months into my time, they took me from county jail to prison. And so I did about, a little less than 5 years in prison.
For a crime you didn't commit,
Right,
which you are exonerated for?
No, the charges were never overturned. They wouldn't look into it. So that individual since ended up taking his own life.
The killer?
Yeah.
Or
the one that opened up and said, hey, I did it. I want to help you clear your name.
Wow.
He took his own life.
Have you reconnected or reached out to the victim?
No, you're not supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like, but the whole thing that was challenging for me and really like disheartening was I would hear like through the grapevine, right? Like, everyone knows you didn't do it. Everyone at the party knows you didn't do it, but no one wanted to come forward and get involved with the police.
Sure.
No one wanted to be a snitch and tell on the person who did it. So I knew that all these people at the party knew the truth, including the victim. He didn't even want to press charges on me. He asked for no restitution. And I heard through like other people that he knew I wasn't the person that did it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that made me feel good, though. At least the guy that I'm accused of stabbing knows I didn't stab him.
Yes.
Like, some of my family was worried, hey, when you come home, do you have to look over your shoulder? Like, are these guys going to try to get you? Yeah. I never thought about that. I just believed that if I do the right thing, going forward from that time, that things are going to work out. That was just a belief I had. So I never was fearful of that.
So what we teach is a theory called God mode, which is that we are in a simulated reality and we are avatars here, like outside of space and time, and that you're here playing a game. Like, you're just an avatar going through a level, and you have to find clues to level up.
Yeah.
You could either choose to sit in the cell and exist, or you can say like, this is trying to tell me something. This is not random. This game was designed for me to evolve. And it sounds like you evolved.
It feels like that. No, that's a really cool perspective. And it feels like that, absolutely. Because when you start thinking the right way and acting in accordance with like those correct thoughts, like, things unfold for you in your favor.
Yes.
Like, for me, ever since I made the decision in my cell so here's the thing, my whole life, my conscience, God, right, was telling me to do the right thing. I ignored it, and I did the drugs, and I went to the parties, and I skipped school. And I remember sitting in my cell going, I got sober in that cell, and I started having these powerful emotions, and my conscience got louder. And I remember just thinking, gosh, like, what if I had listened to that good voice inside of me my whole life? Where would I be?
Yeah.
Probably would have went to college. Maybe I could have got, into the MLB, my childhood dream.
Sure.
My whole life would have been different. And I remember just committing in that moment to listening to what I believed was God's voice trying to guide me my whole life. And I said, no matter what happens, I'm going to follow that path and find out where this path takes me in life, because I know where the other one goes.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I feel as if things have been happening for me and God has favor over me. Like, I swear, and people think that sounds crazy, but I've made all the right decisions and done all the things I was supposed to do ever since. And now I have the life I always prayed for and wanted. It's no coincidence, right? No. Like if you're talking about this as a simulation and we're in a game, like I learned how to either hack the system or play in accordance with the rules.
Right.
And now I'm doing the right thing. And like, how did I end up here with you? How are we doing all this stuff we're doing in our lives? Like, so I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So the scale is, and I'm actually interested in your feedback, because, man, you're living the hardest version of the game.
Yeah.
So you have NPCs, non-player characters.
Yeah.
They're just the bots in the game. All those people that didn't say anything because they can't say anything.
Yeah.
They just a code. Then you have player one. Player one is you. it's a real person in the game who is able to maneuver, look at levels, evolve, get new skill sets, and the game is designed for you to win. And then you have God mode, which is I have the ability to create reality. I am not the player of the game. The rules of the game don't apply to me. If I can believe it and think that I want it, I can go create a environment where that dream can come true.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're playing.
Dude, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I've been on the hero's journey ever since, right? And so the first couple of years was me learning how to master myself. Maybe I was still player one at that time, right?
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to tweak my mindset and forge that like undeniable belief in self. The way I did that was showing up every day and doing work to improve who I was. I do thousands of push-ups in my jail cell. I started reading every book I could get my hands on. In county jail, before I even went to prison, I started reading the dictionary because I was in my cell all day. I'm like, well, let me memorize some words and like develop my vocabulary. And then I started writing, using those words and articulating myself differently in my letters back home.
Yeah.
That changed how I speak. Like that was the foundation of me becoming a speaker and putting out content. I didn't used to talk this way. I wasn't as well spoken. And so I did all these things during my time to build up a belief in myself.
Are you religious? Like, are you Christian? Are you
spiritual?
Spiritual?
I'd say I'm Christian. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Jewish,
Yeah.
And we share some books.
Yeah.
And what I think is really interesting about the Old Testament and New Testament, I'm not sure, I never read the whole thing, but that God puts you through, especially prophets, puts them through things that they don't want to do in order for them to become prophets, who they are.
Yeah.
It's like Abraham had to leave his house when he's 75 years old, leave his land, his birthplace, everything he's ever known, and go to a land that God will show you. Very ambiguous, but has to leave everything behind. Moses had a stutter, didn't want to be the hero for the Jews and rescue them. And you just have all these prophets that are don't want that responsibility. And God says, hey, I'm taking you away from your environment and you're going to focus.
Yeah.
And once you focus and harness, you will become this thing greater than yourself.
Yeah.
So from a religious standpoint, like hearing your story, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I had to be taken out of that environment.
You had to be taken out of the environment.
There was no other way, God knows that I'm stubborn, and that was the only way to get my attention.
Was it hard to, a detox in jail?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Do they give you stuff to?
No, hell no.
Okay.
Bologna sandwich.
Okay.
The first night I got booked in, it was like an 8-man tank, and there was 8 beds taken. I had to sleep on the floor like the first night, and I remember my legs were just like twitching, and I couldn't sleep, and everyone knew I was coming off drugs, but it was miserable.
Yeah.
Because the amount of pills and alcohol I was taking every day, like I was definitely detoxing pretty hard for a while. And then, just working out, sweating it out, like eventually I started feeling back to my normal self.
Was there ever a time where you thought like, okay, like when you're in prison, is there like a groove that you get into? Like this is, okay, like
you have to have a routine because it helps pass the time and it helps give you something to focus on. And that's one of the greatest benefits I took from prison is like focus on what you can control. A lot of people have anxiety about the future. They're worrying all the time. If you're in prison, you don't even want to ever think about the day you get out. Like I'm sitting there with 5 years to go. I start thinking about when I'm getting out, and all of a sudden I'm just going to be dreading that my time in prison. I'm going to be hard timing it, as they call it, and you can't focus on anything productive or even be happy. So you just eliminate that thought and you just focus on what's in front of me. This book, this next meal, this workout, this chess game. You're living moment to moment.
Yeah.
And you get in this really good routine where the time starts flying by.
How does gratitude play into this? So now you have self-exploration and introspection, which you had.
Yeah.
And then how does gratitude play into that?
It's your armor. You have to be grateful. You have to focus on positive things. Otherwise, you look around and you're in this horrible environment around these, not so good people. You're hungry, you're lonely, it smells, all the negative things, right? So I remember in county jail, like I'd start waking up in the morning and I'd go into this prayer and meditation. And that's when I started centering myself around gratitude to start each and every day. I would just think about my family members and picture them doing great things in life. I try to be optimistic about the future, but it was really just focusing on things that just made me feel love in my heart. It was my family and picturing them just doing really good and happy. And that's something I've done ever since. You know, like when I went to prison, you have a little time in your cell every morning before you get let out to the day room, and now you're around a bunch of people. And I'd get up and same thing, I'd meditate, I'd write down things that I was grateful for, I was working on, and it would just get me in the right perspective. So when I went out to the day room, I wasn't irritable, I wasn't going to get in an argument, I wasn't jeopardizing my time. Like I had to have equanimity, right? I had to be able to maneuver in that setting in a way where I wasn't getting affected by other people, and I was able to stay productive and stay in my lane.
If you can do that in that environment, and that's where it's like the privilege that we have outside of this cell, right? Physical cell. And you're saying, I need to take a moment to be grateful for what I have and center myself before I go out and interact with the world. I think do you still do that in the morning?
Yeah. I mean, I have a morning process. I get up. I've done this for the last 14 years. I need solitude in the morning. I just need time to think. I pray to God for guidance and strength. And I envision my perfect day and what I need to do and who I want to be. And I'm mentally prepping myself to show up as my most elite self for my kids, for my wife and my business, for everything I do. And so I'm using visualization and like gratitude type thinking and perspectives to just set me up for success every day.
Yeah.
It makes a world of a difference. You know, I'm going into my days already executing on that vision.
Yeah.
And like, if I don't do that, if like I sleep past my alarm, or, you know, maybe I get home late and I sleep in, I notice that I feel different. Like I don't think as crisp and clear. My energy's different. So for me, it's a performance tool. That morning time, that solitude, it makes a world of a difference.
For some people that, and again, coming back to the beginning of this conversation, which is society wants you to be comfortable in whatever form you are. And comfort doesn't really come with growth. And we know that evolution requires sacrifice and pain in order to evolve.
Yeah.
So what do you tell somebody who is comfortable? Like you're a business owner, you're overweight, you don't have the best mindset, but you're making money, you're comfortable in life. What is the incentive to evolve?
Yeah, I mean, I think deep down inside, everyone wants to be their best. I think when you're a child, like you have big dreams and you know, you envision doing these amazing things with your life. I don't think people lose that. I think they just suppress it over time and accept a lesser version of themselves. So it's maybe you say something to trigger them. Maybe you ask them about their family or other parts of their life that are important. The whole goal is for people to see that success is not just one dimensional, it's multifaceted. Like if I had a bunch of money and a bunch of cool cars and watches, but I wasn't around my family or I was fat and out of shape, like I wouldn't feel successful. And people that are in that world, maybe that's okay for them. Maybe they're, what do you call it, an NPC?
Yeah.
Like that's their level. But I just think that most people want to be able to look in the mirror and feel proud of themselves. And this is the whole thing that changed my life, is like finally being able to look in the mirror. And I'm not talking about my physique, like honestly looking in the mirror and going, you're doing all the right. This is the person you always wanted to be. That's the best feeling in the world. Like I started rebuilding my life one day at a time by doing all the right stuff or anything I could do that day to make me feel proud of who I was, and going to sleep at night like knowing that I maximized that day. It was the best feeling in the world. I'm like, dude, I'm in jail. I just did 1,000 push-ups. I read 50 pages. I looked up all these words in a book. I wrote letters home. I wrote those letters with perfect penmanship.
Yeah.
I cleaned my jail floor like it's a palace. Like,
wow.
Like you can't take that from me. I know it sounds trivial to people that haven't been in that situation, but for me, it was all the small things. And brick by brick, it just started building me up.
That's
and it was easier for me to be grateful in jail with nothing than out here with everything I've ever wanted. Because when it's taken from you, you understand how important it is and you value it so much more. So like I'd be grateful for a peanut butter sandwich. I'd be doing my burpees in my cell and I was just grateful to have arms and legs to work out with. Like how many times do people wake up and they take their health for granted? Your kid's in the next room, all that money in your bank account, and you're mad, like you're angry, like you're a fucking pussy, like straight up. But like it's just a lack of life experience and understanding. And so my whole content and message is like I want to get through to people at that level. I want people to like feel some stirring within them. Like, damn, maybe there's more. Like, who could I be if I let go of the excuses and really just face my own fears and perceived limitations and win after everything that I thought I should be?
I have to tell you, this is a confession of mine, which is I met you at Tommy's event when I was working with him, and you were the keynote speaker. Yeah. And I listened to your speech, and Tommy was just getting in shape at this time. He was saying at the next show he's going to have like 7% or 10% body fat, whatever that was. And you were the speaker. And I was sitting there watching you and Tommy, and I was like, I want that. I want that commitment to health. That was the first time outside of like Andy Elliott group that I saw two guys that are like successful, in shape, had a sense of purpose. And that really changed my desire to start like taking fitness more seriously. Yeah. Obviously I'm taking some enhancers. I'm eating healthy. I'm working out every day. I've gained, I don't know, I was like 210 during that time. I'm like 260 now.
Oh, wow.
But that was a huge catalyst for me. And I know you've done great work in the trade space.
Yeah, I mean, connected with Tommy, that event was awesome. You know, I met a lot of people in the trades, and I love working with guys in the trades because they're hardworking individuals, they're ambitious, they're driven. A lot of them just neglect themselves because they're so focused on the business, and it takes so much to scale a company and to manage and lead people, you know? But over time, what happens is they start to decline. They don't realize it, but they're losing their edge a little bit. You know, they're losing that focus, whatever it is, whatever the symptoms are. So I love being able to help get these guys back on track. But we were talking about it earlier, like when you see an individual who's fit, who's energetic, who seems like they have a purpose, like there's something different about them, it's attractive. Like you're like, damn, I want to feel like that. I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And I think physicality for men is the gateway to higher level personal development.
Yes.
Because it changes your mindset, your own perception of yourself. And like you have to evolve your identity to keep hitting these new levels. Yes. You know, like the old Trent, like the Trent from 5 years ago, that's not who I'm seeing right here.
No.
Right? And the Trent in 5 years from now, he's going to be an evolved version, hopefully, with all these big goals and these moves you're making. Yes. Right? So I like it because I don't want this journey to end. I don't want my growth to ever be complete. Like I get to read a new book next week, set a PR in the gym, do something different with my family that's spontaneous, and that keeps life exciting and progressing.
If you were to call my wife right now and ask her like, hey, what is Trent's core belief? She would tell you that my core belief is I want to evolve. Yeah. That's the foundation.
I love that.
And I'll tell you a story. Levi's here and he's the precipice for this story. I was started to do Zen. You ever do Zen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like popping them, and it was just like with my friends. We were in a van. It's just something to do, right? I'm on the road making sales calls, so I'm Zenning all the time. And it started like one can every whatever. Then it was like one every day, and then it was like 1.5 a day, and then somewhere like a year down the road, I was addicted. And I told myself, I'm not really addicted. Nicotine, Andrew Huberman says nicotine's good for your memory, you know, and it's going to help with your digestive system, and it's doing all these good stuff. That's why I'm doing it. And my wife's like, I think you're addicted to nicotine. I was like, no, I could quit if I want to. So I took like 3 days off, and I just felt a little weird. I had to do a coaching call, so I just bought another one, and I was like, okay, that was weird, but I can still quit if I want, okay? Then I'm driving in the car with Levi. I'm out of nicotine. We're in the car for like 40 minutes. And I was like, hey, next time we pass the gas station, I just want you to pop over. I just got to grab some nicotine. He's like, cool. There's a gas station by my house. I was like, all right, cool. So we're driving, 5 minutes go by. Go, hey, you just passed that gas station, remember? He's like, no, dude, we're going to the one by my house. I was like, all right, cool. Another gas station passed. I was like, Levi, pull over. He's like, bro. Finally, we pulled over. I got it. I was fine. And on the plane home, I was like, I'm a fucking addict. I'm an actual, needed that nicotine and bothered my friend to go get it. And I needed it then. And I was like, I don't want that. But it's tough. And I did quit. I'm like 6 months or 4 months off nicotine now.
Good for you.
But it's not part of my identity anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't need it. If you were to ask me right now, hey, do you want, I wouldn't ask like, what's the flavor? What kind? Where'd you get it from? Is it Zen or the other one? I would just be like, no, I don't do it. It's not part of my identity. And what I think with the fitness side is it is part of my identity to, I am a person that doesn't miss workouts. That is part of my identity. I am a person that doesn't skip days. I am a person that eats healthy. I am a person that takes care of my body. Those are core identity builders in my belief. And anything that you don't like, you could just throw away. Yeah. This addiction, it's gone. You don't like it, just today you could make a choice to stop it. And I would like to hear your opinion, but I feel like people genuinely think that whatever is ailing them is a part of them and not just something, a skin that you can shed.
Yeah, there's some type of detachment, or not, there's a connection there, right? Like they feel, like for me, I felt like I was an addict for a long time, but I never in my core belief of who I was an addict. Like my behavior, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, but my core belief, I didn't feel like I was a drug and alcohol addict.
Yeah.
One day, eventually, I would change. That was like the thing in my head. But yeah, the evolution of your identity is powerful because that's the difference between intermittent change and long-term lasting change.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you have to incorporate new habits into your life or break old ones.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, if you could pick all your habits and like look at the future self of who it was going to make, right? You have to commit to them, obviously. For a lot of people, the commitment's hard because they haven't shifted their mindset and their identity. So it's just like this thing I'm doing. Like a lot of the guys I coach, when I first start talking to them, I tell them, look, this isn't just some program you're going to do for 6 months or a year, and then you're going to go back to your old lifestyle. This isn't a program. Like I want to shift the way you think, and I want you to go through an evolution in your identity so this lasts forever. So just like planting that seed in the beginning, they're like, oh, okay. Like, because that's the way it lasts. Like Trent, who exercises and takes care of his health, and that's a part of who he is, that's what you're going to do indefinitely. Yes. Not just a 75 hard program or some temporary time.
That Trent is the best version of himself.
Yeah.
That Trent shows up for his family. That Trent doesn't go down.
That's another good point. You got to connect. Like let's take health and fitness, for instance, right? Guys that want to lose weight. I want them to connect the change to things that are so meaningful in their life that it really resonates with them. Like you're going to be more present with your family. You know, you're going to be able to, let's say, grow your business even faster or bigger and have that time with your family back that you want. Whatever it is, provide for them at a higher level. Like being able to consciously connect the change we need to make for ourselves to how it's going to have a ripple effect into our lives and our relationships is powerful. Because now you see the life you can create. Like I call it life by design. Like, what do you want? Not like, what do you think's possible? What might you want to do? If you could write it down on paper and God would grant those wishes or materialize this into your reality in the next couple of years, what would you write down? Like getting you to think really big and free of limitations. And most people, what they write down is way different than the life they're currently living.
Sure.
So we gotta get exposed to our truth. What is your truth? Yeah. Don't suppress it, you know? Going back to like the simulation theory, right? What do you call it? Godspeed?
God mode.
God mode, right? Yeah. Like God mode, like we're creators, man. And what you think about and what you focus on materializes in your life. And it's incredible, like what you can manifest, right? Everyone uses that word, but I don't think most people realize they're manifesting the exact outcomes that they're worried about and they're fearful of, right?
Yeah. So all the friends who are watching, I have unlimited energy for my goals. I could go no sleep and be energetic forever. You'll never see me like in a tired state. You guys never see me in a tired state. And I do this thing, which is I act as if. So like, even if I wake up and I'm tired, I just tell myself, act as if you're not tired.
Yeah.
What would the best version of you do if you weren't tired? Yeah. And then I just do that. And then I do so many things as if. Act as if you were interested. Act as if you wanted to something. Act as if. And I just do so many things acting as if that I end up
I love that.
being that thing.
Your mind's so powerful, right? Like I had a client the other day, we were doing a Zoom, and he's like coughing. He's like, oh, sorry, my kids got me sick. I'm like, you get sick? And he's like, haha. I'm like, no, you allow yourself to get sick, dude. Like you got this business, you're building this family to take care of, and you allow yourself to get sick? And I was like super serious with him, you know? And he's like, what do you mean? I go, dude, being sick is a choice. Like, remember when you're a little kid and you start having a symptom? What's the first thing your mom does? Oh, you're getting sick, honey, and she gives you medicine. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're planting that belief in your mind that every time you feel a symptom, you're going to be sick and you're going to miss school and it's going to get worse. I started playing around with this years ago. My kids get sick, right? And when they come home sick and I see them with their runny noses or whatever, maybe the next day I have a scratch in my throat, I just go in my mind and I meditate. I'm like, I will not get sick. I have too much to do. I have too many people to provide for. I will not get sick. And I'm healthy and I take care of myself. But if I feel a symptom, it literally goes away in hours. I'm serious. Like, and it works every time. Wow. And so like the power of your mind is incredible. People will be like, Sean's full of shit, right? But I mean, dude,
Sean,
like,
I got to tell you this. Okay, this is fucking real. And I've never shared this. Like, okay, if you called my wife right now, she would tell you this. I do get sick, but I get sick when I tell myself it's okay to get sick right now. Yeah. So like for a month, I'll be traveling and I'm like, dude, I can't get sick during this time. I won't. Then I'll come home for a week. And then in my mind, I'll just say to myself, I guess it's okay if I get sick this week.
And it might be subconscious,
and
right?
I do.
Yeah, because
I'm done.
You're on the road, you're pulling deals off, you're working, you're making all this shit happen. You can't afford that.
The last 4 days that I could have got sick, I did get sick, and now we're on the road for the next month. Like, it was perfect timing.
And you won't get sick. Everyone at home, try that, right?
Just get sick at the right time.
Don't allow yourself to ever get sick.
Well, never. Sometimes
getting sick is a form of weakness, right? I posted that on Facebook, and my mother-in-law texted me. She's like, "What did you mean by that?" She was all sick at home. I said, "It doesn't apply to you, right?"
So you're not
like that. My content's not for you,
yeah.
Right?
So you're saying when you don't get sick, you don't get the special wife treatment where you sleep and you could act like a baby and your wife comes and takes care of you?
Dude, my wife had like 3 kids back to back. My daughter Bella's 1. She hasn't slept in like 5 years. So like, I don't get, no.
Yeah, you don't get treatment.
She's like, you were snoring all night last night.
Yeah.
But no, my wife's awesome. And special treatment,
Can you meditate snoring away?
That's what I tell her I'm doing. I say I'm meditating. So yeah, no, but she's awesome. Like, she's at home with the kids right now, and she's like supportive in everything I do. So when I get home from a trip or working, like all I want to do is be there to support her and be with the family.
Sean, overeating, like we were talking about, overeating is a addiction. How do you overcome that addiction?
Yeah, I mean, overeating might be one of the hardest ones. I think right now in society, it's food and phones are the 2 substances that are abused the most because they're readily available. They're not as taboo as drugs. And there's a really good book everyone should read, Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembecki, that talks about the neurochemistry in your brain when you're doing things that have a really high like stimulus, like your dopamine's through the roof and you become addicted to that behavior or action. So everyone should read that just to understand what's actually taking place on a chemical level. But I think for most people, it's something from the past that they haven't dealt with. Most people that are in addiction with drugs, it's trauma, it's shame, it's guilt. It's something from childhood where they didn't get love from their parents, and they're masking that pain by numbing themselves. So for me, when I got sober, I had to forgive my parents for all the things I hated them for. And I literally remember I was just writing a letter home in my jail cell to my parents, just forgiving them. And at that point, I did it because I didn't want them to self-destruct further and blame themselves. Like I was worried they were going to die when I was in jail.
Right.
But when I was writing them these letters of forgiveness, I was writing out all the things I'd never talked about. Like publicly or out loud, I never spoke about that stuff. It was just bottled up inside of me. And I remember just feeling this huge release of emotion. And I remember finally going, man, I faced it. I admitted that stuff happened. And for me, that was a huge release. And you see a lot of people that are overeating or using whatever substance to numb themselves, to check out. And there's always an element of masking pain. There's some denial there. So you might have to forgive someone, you might have to forgive yourself, or I don't know, some people talk to a therapist, right? And open up and share your life story and just get all that emotion out of you. I think most people, that's what's taking place. The food thing is hard though. If you're addicted to food and you're overweight, like don't have the food at home. And you want to start replacing that behavior with something that's constructive. For me, exercise saved my life because I would do a bunch of burpees and just push-ups until I couldn't get up off the floor and I'm sweating and I'm dying. And I'd get like this endorphin rush and I felt really good about myself. And I was replacing one addiction essentially with another. Just this new addiction was constructive. It got me healthier, better mindset, more self-confidence over time. And that's really what worked for me. But I think for most people, you have to be able to heal, have a plan for how you're going to overcome that addiction, but then strive to replace it with something more constructive. And like, you probably don't want to hang out with people that are doing the stuff that you were doing. You have to change a lot, new environment, and really focus on personal growth. That's going to pull you away from that old life.
People in general have an aversion to things that are difficult.
Yeah, there's something about doing something very physically challenging that can unlock superpowers in human beings. Like you see all these people that go out and run ultra marathons, or I did an Ironman, right?
You did an Ironman?
Yeah, I did an Ironman, and then I was training to do an ultra marathon in Zion, Utah, and I tore my meniscus a month before. And I ended up going out there and trying to do it anyway, and at mile 30, my leg locked up.
Oh my God.
But my brother ran the whole thing, and he had only run 20-something miles before that. So it was like a big win for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. For guys, if you're a guy out there and you're struggling with addiction and you want to break it, fitness or being physically active, whether it's martial arts, running, weightlifting, that habit can change your whole life. and you just take the anger, the frustration, or whatever it is you're experiencing in your life and channel it into those lifts, those moments of exercise, it'll change your neurochemistry, man. And over time, your identity, right? And like, I'm a fitness guy now. Back then, I was a drug addict. I don't identify as a drug addict anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've changed.
The identity changed.
I've changed over time.
I think that is a very interesting point, which is your addiction is not you. It is, I mean, you tell me if I'm saying, but it's outside of you. Like you can say like, all right, it's not, the addiction doesn't own me.
Yeah.
It's something that's here that I give into,
yeah.
but it's not my identity.
No, 100%. That's a really good distinction, you know, and I stopped going to like AA a long time ago because you go into those meetings and you could be sober 20 years. And when you want to speak, you go, my name's Sean, I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, Dad, I've been sober 14 years. I'm not an addict. I reprogrammed my brain. Like I never craved drugs and alcohol ever since I turned my life over to God and committed to a life of sobriety. Never. And because I've changed, I've evolved, you know? And so, yeah, the addiction it's a choice and it's a momentary, it's a moment of weakness that you give into.
Do you still have, you mentioned when you were a little kid that you had anxiety.
I was always nervous, man. I remember like one time driving home with my uncle from baseball practice and there was an ambulance in front of us and its lights were on and it turned down like a street towards my house and then another one. And I was like, oh my God, like something bad happened. You know, I was terrified. I was having this panic attack. And then at the last minute when we had to turn down one more street, they kept going straight. And like, I would always bite my nails as a kid. I was just always fearful that something was going to happen with my parents.
So that's very interesting. I have anxiety. I'm a neurotic person, but I also have anxiety, panic attacks, all that stuff. One of the triggers is being on a plane. I'm claustrophobic. I don't like heights, and any amount of turbulence like will send me like, if you give into it, you start to spiral. I'm up in the air. I'm 30,000 feet. My kid's down there. He's never going to see me again. This is it. Is there air in here? You know, you're looking around at everybody else's eyes. Like, is everybody else feeling that there's no air? Am I the only person who can't breathe all of a sudden? But also, before the spiral, if you can find that one spot where you're about to go, you can say like, no, this is something you're going to give into and you know the path. You don't need to do that. And I am able to stop it.
Yeah.
Like you're able to rewrite your, I don't know, brain chemistry to just say, no, I'm not going to be afraid. It's okay. I'm safe. And you don't have to do those things. Especially when I fly with my son, Zev. When I fly alone, I'm more prone to give into anxiety because it's just me. But when I fly with my son and there's turbulence, I'm not Trent. I'm Zev's dad. And Zev's dad is not afraid of flying, and he'll never show fear to Zev. And that just showed me, as I was flying with him when he was little, that like I actually have the control. If I don't want this, I don't have to have it. And that goes for addiction, that goes for mindset, that goes for anything that is not going to help me become the best version of myself. If I could give into it, I could turn it off. Yeah,
that's powerful. And a lot of people don't have that ability. Like, willpower is a muscle, you know, and if you haven't worked it for a long time, like, or you've given in to temptation, you feel helpless to make those types of changes. But what you just described is directly out of the book, The Alter Ego. Have you read that?
No.
So I can't even think of the author's name, but Alter Ego, great book. The author works with a lot of professional athletes and a lot of people that have to get into a certain character, let's say before they go and play a professional basketball game. Like Kobe Bryant had the Black Mamba. You know why he invented that alter ego? Because he got exposed for cheating on his wife, and everything in his life was going to, she was going to leave him. He did the press conference, and him and Tim Grover got together, and they came up with the Black Mamba. And the Black Mamba was like a killer. Like when he stepped on the court, no one could touch him. Because his personal life issues were carrying over into his performance on the court. And I think they just lost a bunch of like championships, and Shaq left, and there was all this stuff. So that's what you're doing. When you're on the plane with your son, you get into a different headspace, almost like an alter ego, where the anxiety, it can't even happen.
I'm Zev's dad.
Yeah, you're Zev's dad. That's your alter ego. So you could do that. You should test this out, right? You're Zev's dad whether you fly with him or not. And apply the same mentality and watch, you won't get the anxiety. If you really can go into that same mentality and that same thought process that you do when you're with him, you'll have the same outcome.
We talk about the difference between Clark Kent and Superman. They're the same person, but they show up differently when they're needed.
Exactly.
Clark Kent Superman doesn't fly around with Clark Kent's problems.
Let me ask you this.
He's Superman.
Because he points this out in the alter ego.
The Superman Clark Kent thing?
Yep.
You're kidding me.
Who is the real person? Is Superman the alter ego, or is Clark Kent?
Well, Clark Kent is the alter ego.
Okay, you knew that. That was a trick question.
Yeah.
I always thought it was the opposite.
No, I'm a DC fan,
right?
Yeah.
So he's on Earth and he has to dress like a human to fit in.
Totally.
But it's the same concept, whether you're doing sales, and this is something, if you're a guy that when you get home, like you're just drained and it's hard for you to be present around the kids and you're checking your phone, like we have to have a certain mantra or something we say to ourselves to kick us into that gear, right? Like when I go home, I'm like best dad ever, like present dad, whatever the self-talk is.
Yeah.
And that dad doesn't check his phone when his kids are talking to him. That dad pays attention when his wife's talking to him.
Right.
He helps clean up or get dinner ready. So we can create these alter egos, whether it's sales, business, family, going to the gym and getting healthy and fit. And it's just an extension of who you are. You don't have to play that character all the time.
Yeah.
But in the right setting, in the right arena, that's how you master that field.
That's right. That's God mode. That is God mode.
We're tapping it. I like that. I'm going to use that one for now.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Bro, Sean, I'm going to tell you something. First of all, I love you. I'm glad that we're friends. Yeah. You are a freaking staple in this industry. There are a lot of guys out there that do the raw thing, and it works for some people, but you have a sophisticated, introspective, evolutionary driven raw that makes you approachable, humble, and also very in tune with how somebody is feeling. And you've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, Tommy, Lance, I'm sure you can name a lot more. And if people want to get more information, how are they going to do that?
Yeah, my company is Unstoppable 365. You can go on unstoppable365.com. I'm big on social media, so Instagram, Sean_Crane_official, or Facebook, right? A lot of the guys in the trades are on Facebook. Sean Michael Crane. Send me a DM, shoot me a follow, or whatever it is if you want to connect. And I love building relationships. I want to see everyone win. I love supporting guys that want to go to that next level. And like you said, I've had a lot of experience, right? Working with guys that are ambitious and driven, but they don't have the right systems in their personal life like they do in business. And if you don't have the right systems in your personal life and you don't have a system that you can consistently execute, you're not going to rise to that next level, right? Because I'm a firm believer that personal development creates professional success. Right. Like your mindset, your health. I mean, you are the person that's doing everything. So you got to prioritize yourself, because otherwise you're going to give the family leftovers, burn out, not reach your potential. And like I said, I want to see everyone thriving in all areas of life. So shoot me a DM, we'll connect.
Cool. Thank you. If you don't want to evolve, if you want to be a fat loser your whole life, if you want to sit in your skin right now and feel totally complacent, don't call Sean.
Yeah,
but
I'm not your guy.
If you want to evolve, if you want to grow, if you want to take your body and your mind to a new level, Sean's your guy.
Let's go.
Thanks, everybody.